Welcome back, Flutter developer. Welcome to my channel on Flutter. In today's video, I will show you how we can migrate to Flutter 1.9. In my older app, a Flutter to Fly demo app that I have been using to build upon different functionalities, this is how the app looks like. And in this video, we will change this app or migrate this app to Flutter 1.9. So in this particular app, what was happening, I had to create different branches, two different branches to host web and the native code in different branches because there were some packages that would not, the web would not support, and for example, plugin was not available before on for Flutter Web, and Flutter Web was basically a fork of Flutter. But now, starting Flutter 1.9, these two things, Flutter Web Fork has been merged into Flutter. So what does it mean? That we can use the plugins which are available for native platform can be used in web as well. So in this particular video, I will show you how I created the merged branch. So what I meant to say here is how I had two different branches converged into one, and I upgraded to Flutter 1.9. So let's get started. Alright, so this is my web app. Right now it's available at flutter-to-fly.firebase.app.com. If you want to give it a try, here it is. So what it does is, it's a demo app that I use to demonstrate different functionalities and features for Flutter web and Flutter native as well. So what it does, it's like my home page. I have my link to my GitHub, my videos, and the resources that I feel are important to me to go review when I'm on the go, for example. And it's a link for the jobs that's specifically for the Flutter jobs in case you are interested in looking for one. And this login functionality, what it does, it uses the Firebase login, and it doesn't do much. But so if I put my email credentials and if I log in, it will just put my name or my email right there and a little placeholder, my icon and a sign out button. So that's pretty much. So this is for just to demonstrate how we can use Firebase Auth to log into our websites. And of course, we can use this user profile later on. And for resources, I would like to show. So here I have here right now for 4 main headings as well. So like for references, there are really good articles available out there, but it's very hard for me to go one by one and keep bookmarking them everywhere, because it's like hard to like have that bookmarking or carry my laptop all around or fiddle with the Chrome bookmarks on the little screen of phone when I want it to be. But this Flutter to Fly web app, I can access it from anywhere. And also I have Android app for this that I can just use and click and go to see what's going on in the new world. And this is for example, list of apps which are built with Flutter. And this is a Flutter website, official website, and the cheat sheet is pretty good and pretty handy when I need it. And curated contents are pretty good too. You can get like a searchable list of the Flutter contents, like different articles at one place. And last but not least, the Flutter podcast are pretty good too. So I have a link of all the different important the channels, the subscriptions I go and visit. So I don't have to really go and jump into different medias when I want to access a Flutter information. Now I can just go to my app and can go wherever I want to. All right, so let's get started. What I changed to migrate it to the to Flutter 1.9. I also had written a companion article for this. It has a little background about how I get started with Flutter Web. So it was Google I/O 2019 when I heard about the Flutter Web, and I really got excited about it. And from making my first pull request to for the instruction to run the Flutter sample web apps, since then I've been exploring this, and I have wrote a couple of articles about web. So these here you see the 5 articles are out there, and all of them have their own different branches. So from Flutter 1.9 and from this article and onwards, I will be using just one code base uh, since we are using Flutter 1.9. All right, so how would we like migrate the project, the existing one? There is a very good documentation, the official documentation out there, which outlines this process very clearly, like what you have to do. Just make sure you know that it's not ready for production use yet. It was in technical preview. Looks like it came out. I don't see that warning anymore here, but it's not for production use. Okay, so to do this, right now you have to do in Flutter channel master. So you have to go one directory above, then the directory of your project, and you have to switch your channel to master, then run Flutter upgrade and enable your web configuration. Now you cd into your project directory, and either you can say flutter create dot in case you don't have. So what this flutter create dot does, it creates Android, iOS, and web folders. So the way I did was, since I had my already Android and iOS, I just needed the web. So I deleted, I created a different folder, and I copied my web folder into my existing project. So I'll show you what I did. So right here, so this is my existing project that you have been seeing for a while. And so what I did, I already have my Android, I already have my iOS. Oh, well, the thing I didn't have or had it little different was web. So earlier we used to have index.html and the main.dart as well right here for web. Right now we don't need main.dart for web. We just use index.xml and have our the main.dart.js. It automatically connects it to the dart.js, so we don't have to have another wrapper for web now. And here, as you see, this is the very same thing what we have been doing before. We have like our Firebase configuration here. So please find the links, all these in very detail, in deep details of this, like how did I integrate it Firebase in my older previous articles. I will provide the links below this video as well. And of course it has here at the bottom all the links which you might need to go deeper into a particular section. For this video, I'm just showing you how I migrated to 1.9 and what changes I needed to do so. So first was, I had to create my web directory right here. You can use the .create, or you can just copy over your index.html into the web and remove the main.dart. That will work too. Okay, so I have my project ready. Another thing you might run into depending on when you're watching this video. So today on around September 23rd-ish, I had the white screen issue that I see right here, which is reported in Flutter issues, and looks like it closed. Okay, so looks like it closed just like yesterday. Let's see. Oh yeah, it just closed like 2 hours ago. Great, amazing. So what I did, so I put a comment here. We had issue in running into the master branch. So if I do, so this is my command here, right here. So if you run into the dev channel, then you are fine. You don't see this white screen issue anymore. So it looks like this issue is closed and there's no more issue right there. And also it seems to be resolved on the master branch as well, which is so great. So you really don't have to switch to the dev anymore. So, but just for the completeness sake, I will leave this note here. Okay. So the next thing what you need to do is like how you need to know is how you would run the cross-platform apps from Android Studio if you would like to. So as you see here now, from starting from Flutter 1.9, 1.9, they started like showing Chrome also and the web and server as well in this launcher. So if you go on Android Studio, it's right here. So in fact, I'm running this thing right now. So you would run as you were running Android and iOS apps, and it will launch a Chrome, a Chrome instance right here. So okay, so it's running, like it's building. It will take a while, and it will launch a instance of Chrome and will run the web code there. Okay, it will tell us when it's up there and running. So next, let's move to the deploying web app. So deploying web app is very simple. So what you all have to do, flutter build web, and that's it. So what does this command does? It creates a document directory, the build directory right here, right here. So it was not there before. This is from my last launch. And whatever the content, so it actually creates, I'll show you, it will create a web directory, and inside that it put index, HTML and other files that you can move into a public directory directly. So I will show you how we can do that. So it looks like our instance is launching right here, and it's taking a while. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay, so it's coming up. It's a little slow, but for first time. Yeah, okay, so everything comes up. You see it's running on my local host, and you also see it's in my separate instance, and everything looks good the way it should, as it was running in our production instance. Okay, so we are good with this. Let's close it, and I'll show you now how we can deploy the command thing. So as I said, flutter build and web. I hope I copied the command right. Yes, build web. So what it does, it creates a web directory here, and it will put some index.html and the compiled JavaScript code right here. So you would copy the content which is inside the web. I'll open it in a while. Let's open it in Reveal in Finder. So it's compiling, working on it. So there's nothing right now. So once it comes, it will show us what's here. Okay, I'll come back to it later once it's done compiling. Still working. Okay. So let's talk about what two things I changed in this particular migration. So the one thing was launching URLs. Launching URLs is like, so earlier in the web and in the native, how we used to do there was no way to detect the platform. So it was different for the there. It's not entirely true there was no way to detect the platform. The better way to say that there was no way to detect and native versus HTML or the web platform from a single library. So you cannot just put a fork at that point. Hey, if you have your web, run this, and if you have native, run this. There was no single library which could do that. So we had to keep these code in two separate branches, which was of course really painful because you have to run a lot of scripts to refactor the imports and such. So from Flutter 1.9 onwards, you have this dot library, magical library, which actually supports that. So if you have .html, that means it's for web, and if it's .io, it's for mobile platform. So I had created a plugin directory right here, and since I had only used two main functionality, cross-platform functionalities, Firebase and URL launcher, so I just wrote the wrappers for Firebase, which is I'm calling Firetop here, and URL launcher. So there is a reason I'm calling it Firetop, not Firebase. So Firebase is a reserved keyword. So I was using that by mistake, and I was running into a lot of issues. And then I had to change Firetop, and it started working. Just a word of caution. So in this particular section, we are working on launcher. So in URL launcher, first thing, we had to add the pub, we had to add these universal HTML and URL launcher dependencies to launch the URL finally. And in URL launcher.dart file, we had to put a like a selection, like file platform detection. So if it's HTML, then call web.dart implementation, or if it's a mobile or native platform, then call mobile.dart implementation. The same thing we had done in Firebase implementation as well. However, we have used the fp underscore auth plugin for Firebase that's written by the Dart team, fp underscore auth, and it's not complete 100%. So far it supports the day of speaking today, which is September 23rd. This is only you have the email and password related authentication there. Google sign-in still is on its way, and the Firebase or Firestore related capability for web is not there yet as well. So I had a workaround that I'll show you in a minute how I'm dealing with that, because I want to use my Firestore in my mobile platform. It's fine if it's not available at web at this point, though. However, you can still have some workarounds to get it working there too. Okay, so let's go back. So this is what is the gist of this whole article or this video, what I've been showing you. So now it's time to jump into the code base. Okay, so going back to our web, so it looks like the command is finished, and you see in the web, so you have to copy over your everything inside the web folder. So you see it copy the assets, what I had, it copies index.html, which is exists, and main.dart.js, as you see right here. So you have to copy whatever is in there inside assets, index.html, main.dart.js, which is compiled main.dart into JavaScript, and this is a map. So this is like more mapping about the Dart and JS, I guess. Okay, so as far as you have these and you move these 1, 2, 3, 4 elements into your public folder, you are good to go. That's all to deployment to the Flutter. Okay, so let's close everything and let me show you how you can do the forks, like the plugins for launching URL implementation. So going back to URL launcher, so you have URL launcher. This is the main file. So let's see where it's being really used. So the best way is to just go and find usage. And you see I have used in resource.dart, and here also res element. So you see it's mostly used at a places where I am opening a link. So if I go back and to my Flutter to Fly, you can see right here. So if I want to open a link right here, like I just clicked on that, I want to click on link. So this thing will use URL launcher right here for, so this is the functionality that we want pretty much. Okay, so right here, so this is the open link right here. So this is what it does. So it takes my URL and it opens this one. Okay, so let's see. All right, so I have to pass my URL right here. So I'm doing some things that I needed to do for particular my case, but this is nothing to be, it's not a generic case that you have to do. The only thing that you have to care about this particular open. So you see it's URL utils.open. So let's see where it is. So now if I see in here, this is actually an unsupported Dart plus mobile.dart, and the implementation is on all 3 platforms. So what does that mean? In unsupported Dart, so if you're running this code anything but mobile or web, which is not detected by our this one, like anything which is not detected by .html or .io, will fall into unsupported .dart. And what it will say, platform not supported. This is a good way to handle the unknown cases. And now if you go to web, so what it does, it uses universal /html.dart library, and it uses HTML's window opening way to open this URL. And you can use your name, a tag that you want to show what it's opening to, and like Flutter layout cheat sheet, that's what. So that's what it updates right here. That's what name is. Okay, and if you go to mobile one, it will launch the URL into the Chrome browser of your, in here I've used the Android. So in here, if you go, let's try. Okay, so if you go here, so if I click on this, this will launch, it will launch the Chrome and open the flutter.com right here, flutterx.com right here. Okay, so that's all to url.launcher. And to enable that, we need these dependencies right here. There are two dependencies you need. You need, of course, the URL launcher plugin, and you need universal underscore HTML to make it work. Okay, so now let's move on to the Firetop, which is a Firebase. So the dependencies you need is the fbauth, this plugin. I just put any because this is in very much flux. So I just added any. I don't want to put a version number on it right now. And if I go back, it has a very similar structure as URL underscore launcher. You see there's unsupported. So let's get started with the main file, Fireauth service. So let's see usage, how it's being used. So router. So what it does, I have used in router. So if you prefer if you refer my old videos, you will see in the routing, I'm using like in a to open the page for login. So for example, right here, Firebase login, you have, I'm using Fireauth service. So Fireauth service is a change notifier, which is right here. So I'm using provider pattern for this. And the class, you see, it remains the very same that we had in the older implementations. So the only difference is we use mobile and web, two different variants for the very similar implementation. So let's see how it differs. So we have this abstraction here, Fireauth service. So earlier we used to call change notifier directly, but now actually I didn't have change underscore notifier earlier. I had named Fireauth service for this change notifier before, because there was only one implementation for my native or web in different branches. But now since I merged it, so, and I still have to support both platforms, so I used Fireauth service for this figuring out the platform, and it's Fireauth service.dart's responsibility to pick the right implementation depending on the platform it's your app is running onto. Okay, so let's see unsupported. It has all the methods which is in the base auth service, which is in here, the base auth service in the chain notifier. It's an abstract class which is here. So change notifier, it shows all the common methods, like it's an abstraction, I would say rather. So it doesn't have any implementation per se. It has my auth user. I created a user which can support both. So it's my user and it's extending auth user, for example, right here, which is coming from fbauth plugin. So it's a very basic user. So this is what it has: a current user, sign in, Google sign in, update user, create user. By the way, Google sign is not supported on web yet, and but it's supported on the native. So this is one good example how the implementation is gonna differ from mobile and the web. And the second thing is update user, so which is actually creates the profile for the user, is slightly different. I'll show in a bit. Okay, so we are here in the router, and we open our, is this very same Fireauth service, all stays same. And now check the implementation in web and mobile. So in the web we use fbauth, and in the mobile, so let's do the split vertically window and just close it and see how they are different. So let's close this and close this. Okay, so web.dart is right here, and mobile.dart is right at the right side of me is mobile, and left side is the web. So let's go one by one. So we both importing fb underscore auth. Cloud store, cloud underscore firestore is imported by mobile, but not by web because it's not supported, it's not available to web. There's a different way to communicate to the file store from web, which is different. And Google team, Flutter team is working on it right now. And the Firebase auth, and the second thing is Google sign-in is new. And actually this one you don't really need it. I don't know why I have it here anymore. So it's like a more cleanup. Let's see. I don't want to error out right now, but what it is, oh, it looks like, okay, so it looks like it's related with the Google sign-in. So this is a dependency for Google sign-in. That's why we have it. Okay, that makes sense. So that's why these two things are in the mobile, not in the web. Okay. Next thing is the change notifier is available in the both, and fp underscore auth is available in both as well. Okay. So we have auth user here, okay, and the auth dot dart. So let's see, really we don't need this one because we are using my auth user, which is extending auth user, so we really don't need it. Let's see why it's being used for. Okay, looks like we also don't need this one. So it was a, so typically if you see for web you need web underscore auth only, and change notifier, which we are implementing. And in here you need web auth plus Firestore plus Google sign-in and its dependency Firebase auth, which is specific to native platform. Okay, so far so good. Now the first line, both have the same class name, and base auth service both has fp auth as authentication library, and create user. Let's check create user. What's the difference? So both have the same signature, same thing. Okay, good. So it's exactly same. There's no change there. Good. For sign in, the email sign in is exactly same too. So actually we can extract this one in a separate class and can just have that extend from there rather having the duplicated here. Now the reason why we have these two separate classes is coming. So in Google sign-ins is not implemented for web, and for mobile it is implemented, for example. Okay, so you see right here, so in here we just throw an exception if it's not implemented, but in here in the native platform we actually go ahead and use the Google sign-in and update the user in the Firestore. We create a profile. So refer to my old videos how we do it. It's everything is explained in details. And but you see there is a no Firestore support available at the web, so it actually commented out. So it just returns the user for completeness sake. But these Google sign-in and the update user is not available at the web. So you have empty methods here pretty much. So that's the reason we have these implementations separately so that they don't mess with each other. However, we can still extract the common functionality like sign in and create user in one place. And the last is the create user and sign out. So in create user again is the pretty same, but there's a slight difference. In the native you can update user update info, which is the you can update the first and display name for the profile. So what it does, when you create an account on Google sign-in, you can have a different display name than the email. So that's how, or you can have just email. So it's really optional. You don't have to do that. And for sign out is the last, which is same. So you see there are two different things. There's a good example to show the functionalities which are not supported at web platform or native platform could be dealt depending on your use case. So that's pretty much I believe in this we are covering. So we saw in this video how we can launch URLs using the div plugin kind of structure, and for Firebase and plugin structure. I took this approach of plugins and making this way from one of the Google's recommended way. I forgot the name, but there was like the engineer who is writing the FB Auth plugin. So I took this way of splitting into the using the two different platforms and targeting to different platform approach of code pattern from that blog post. I will put it if I find that in the reference. Yeah, so that's pretty much for today, and I will see you in the next video. And as always, don't forget to tell me what you want me to write more about Flutter and to make more videos about. And thank you so much for your time. See you next time. Bye bye.